Kia ora, my name is Wha Lysander, or Whareus for Lysander, and I want to talk about the first collections of short stories that I wrote with Entwined, but by Pablo Wairua and Lord Buford Somerset. These books, The Light Guides the Way, The Darkness Holds Sway. When I wrote these books at the same time I was writing Entwined, I had a pretty clear message from Spirit once again in regards to how I should format this book and the message of the name itself. But starting with the format of the book, when I was a kid, I used to read these really cool books that had two stories. One side, you read it from one side first, so you turn the book this way, you read into the book, to the middle of the book, and you'd spin the book around and flip it over and read that way into the middle of the book. So you could choose your own ending, which I really loved as a kid because it was very interactive with you, the reader. And reading is always an interactive experience because of what you formulate when you read a book, but in this situation you get to choose your own ending, which was amazing. Well, that image in my mind came to me as a yin-yang symbol, the light on top, the darkness beneath. And Spirit said to me, call the books, the light guides the way, the darkness holds sway. And that's a metaphor for the simulation we live in, where the forces of control, the darkness, are holding sway, but the light is guiding the way. The light from source power is shining upon that darkness, that shadow, and making people aware of it. Right? So that was the metaphor, and that was the name of those two books. And Spirit told me to write the book as, if I was going to publish it as a paperback, to have it as the light guides the way on one side of the book, and then you turn it around the other way, you spin the book around, and you read it from the other side inwards, like those books I read as a kid. So you'd have two books in one, read as a yin-yang symbol, right? That was the intention, but of course, the cost for me to self-publish was just too extravagant. I couldn't do it. Pablo Wairua's book, the majority of the short stories in there are set in Aotearoa, New Zealand, but I will say that some of those stories are anecdotal about my own personal life and my own personal experiences. I'm embellished upon those experiences to offer myself some lessons about how I could have looked at those experiences back then, but I looked at them at the time I wrote that book in 2008, how I looked at them then and what I could have learnt myself from having this knowledge back then when I had these anecdotal experiences, two of them based in Dunedin of all places. Other two stories that I wrote, the three stories actually I wrote, that were all based overseas. One was based in Navajo country in North America and the United States. One was based in Canada, and the other one was based in Indonesia during the Second World War, but also came back to Karamea in the South Island. Now all these stories are beautiful stories really, and they're all stories of healing and of love and of emotive, powerful messages and the cosmic glue that binds everything. Other side of that coin, the darkness holds sway. They are the expression of my personal shadow and the collective shadow, but they are heavily influenced by my possession experience in Dunedin and what happened to me. And those short stories that I wrote after my possession experience, a lot of those short stories, not all of them, feature in The Darkness Holds Sway. Now, one thing I have to say about that short story collection, The Darkness Holds Sway, is that it's very poetic. What I mean by that is my influences in regards to horror macabre, in regards to the use of the prose that I use, is heavily influenced by Clive Barker's Books of Blood. Now, if you've read his Books of Blood before, his short story collections, and they are off the charts, amazing, so great. If you love horror macabre, if you love dark fantasy, erotic dark fantasy, none better than I've ever come across. But anyway, heavily influenced by him and his way he writes. So truly imaginative, very dark, very explicit, but I wanted to shine a light upon that darkness. that was my intention, to create 2 collections of short stories that could illuminate those 2 forces at work within our own personal collective. But in my case, when I was writing these short stories, it was like looking into parallel timelines and seeing these things all happening. As you would imagine yourself being in the middle of a spider's web, and each strand of the web is a short story existing all at the same time, but not necessarily in our own timeline, so to speak. That makes sense. I hope it does. It does for me. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. Go well. Mā te wā. See you next time. Bye bye.